Yo guys, welcome back to another video. My name is Kevin for those of you that don't know, and today we're going to be touching on a slightly sensitive topic, and that is pricing of your work. So the goal for everyone is to do what they love and get paid for it. And luckily for me, I'm in a position where I can film full time. But for those of you that aren't, you're going to want to know where you start off and where you're heading to essentially. So pricing is something that we really need to think about, and it's not something that's talked about by a lot of directors. Everyone likes to keep it hush hush, but I think it's probably one of the most important things, because obviously we all got to make a living. We've all got to be able to afford the cameras we're shooting on, afford the lenses, afford the memory cards, afford the lighting, afford pretty much everything. So nothing is free when it comes to filming. You're gonna have to pay for everything. You might get lucky and have a rich cousin or a rich uncle that can lend you stuff or even give you stuff, but 9 times out of 10, you're gonna have to go out and buy this stuff. So in order to afford it, you're gonna have to charge a certain amount. So I'm gonna take you through how I started and where I kind of led to, and pretty much the point that I'm at to nowadays. So when I first started, obviously a lot of my work was for free. I think I did about maybe 1 or 2 years, or maybe even 3 years of like free work, like just flat out free. I may have asked for expenses such as maybe food or travel, but I weren't really getting paid to do the work that I was doing. So essentially, I was kind of using that time to learn and practice and just build my confidence within the field. And then eventually I would go up to around £50. So for those of you that are in the US or outside of the UK, £50 is probably around, I don't know, nowadays it's probably like $60 or $70 because of the weak pound rate. But essentially I started off charging £50, and that was my base rate. So I wouldn't leave my house for less than £50. And then once I got to a level where I was confident enough, I would up it by maybe £50 every single month or 2 months or 3 months, depending on how much videos I'm doing and how confident I'm feeling. So essentially, it's not really, it's more of a confidence thing to really gauge your pricing. So at the beginning, I wasn't confident enough to charge £50 or £100 or anything. So I was more than happy to do stuff for free. But eventually I got to a point where I thought, I know these effects now, and I know this kind of color grading technique, and I know these certain techniques when it comes to handling the camera. So I think all that is worth at least £50. And then eventually I learned more, and I was learning more color grading, and I was looking into camera techniques a bit more, and I was looking into all different stuff that make my videos better. And then eventually I was at a point where I felt I actually know enough to charge or keep upping my rate. And every so often, like I said, I would up it by £50, £50, until a point where you kind of leave the clients that want to get free work. And 9 times out of 10, if they like your work and they've been with you from the beginning, they're going to pay you. Like once you get to a certain level, they're going to pay you. A lot of my clients that I've worked with from the get-go, I still work with today. Obviously, I might not be charging them crazy amounts of money, but I'm charging nonetheless. So a lot of them will stick with you if they're loyal and they like your work. They will pay you what you need to be paid. So don't be afraid to say, I want this when you get to a certain level of production, because you have to get paid eventually. If you can't get paid eventually, you're not going to be able to afford better equipment and better lighting and better lenses. And then touching on the topic of the equipment, you really need to take into account how much is this stuff costing you, because when you first start off, obviously you're going to need a camera to start, and that money is probably going to come from your job or your parents or wherever. And from there you're in debt. The way you have to look at it is you spend £1,000 on a camera and a lens and maybe a light, and from there you're in a bank or whoever £1,000, but let's say you're in £1,000 of film debt, for example. So you need to get to a point where you paid off that first investment. So right now we're kind of going into the financial and investment side of stuff. So you have to pay off that first investment of £1,000. So you need to get to a point where you can charge enough and do enough videos to pay off that investment. And then once you've paid that off, you have to think, am I at a point now that I can up my price and maybe invest in more equipment if you need to. Like, it's not always essential to buy more equipment just because you've got the money now. You don't always need equipment. 9 times out of 10, you can make do with what you've got. But everyone wants new equipment. Everyone likes having the best of the best, having the new 4K cameras, 6K, 8K, however many Ks they're going to go into in the future. But it's really important that you kind of charge enough that you can pay back these investments and get yourself out of that kind of film debt kind of thing. So charging is essential in terms of being able to buy your equipment. And like I said, I started off by charging, started at free essentially for at least a few years, then £50 here and there, £100, £150, £200. And then at the same time, I was kind of gauging the field, seeing how much everybody else is charging, because you don't want to go in at too high, especially when your level of work is at the same standard as somebody else that's charging lower. Because essentially, if the person doesn't know you, that wants to get work done with you, and they're not loyal and they don't really know your personality, because 9 times out of 10, it's a lot of this, once you get to a certain level, it's more to do with who you are and your personality and why people want to work with you. But when you're a nobody, you're kind of they're kind of going on the work that they've seen and the prices that you're charging. So if you're charging a certain amount and then the guy down there is charging a certain amount and your work is almost on the same level, then they're probably going to go with that guy if he's charging maybe £50 or £100 less. So you really at the same time need to gauge the field and see what other people are charging, because that as well will determine how much you'll charge at the beginning stages. Like I said, when you get to a certain level, it's not really about how much you're charging and comparing yourself to others, but it's more to do with your personality and working with people and building relationships with people. That's one of the most important things when you get to a certain level. Building relationships, maintaining them, and then hopefully you can come to agreements where you're charging a price that you're happy with and they're happy with, and you just can continue to do great work. But this kind of pricing scheme and this kind of way of charging is really down to like my path that I took and how I got to where I got to. At the moment, I don't really charge a fixed price. I obviously have a base rate that I don't leave my house for, but I tend to ask clients, what's your budget? And then if they come to me with a certain budget that I can work with, then I'll say, yeah, let's go, we can get some work done. Providing, of course, I like the music, because I am also at a point where I can pick and choose what I do. So yeah, right now I'm not really charging a specific rate. It's really down to the person, the budget that they've got, and all that kind of good stuff. So I hope this little video helped. I know there's not many stuff of this, I felt I would touch on it. And yeah, if you have any questions, then just leave them in the comments below. I'll be happy to help you out. Make sure to follow me on Instagram. It's KevinHudsonFilm. On Twitter, KevinHudsonFilm. And yeah, just keep up to date, guys. Keep subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.